Welcome to Keep the Game Beautiful podcast. Each week, I highlight incredible people who are doing amazing things in soccer, the beautiful game. I'm Anna Turi, your host. Thank you for listening. I really enjoyed talking with today's guest, Jed Eichorn. We talk all about teaching kids sports. This is something that can be very difficult at times. Kids are full of energy and always wanting to move, but it's also important that we keep them focused and keep them learning. We talk about that balance that you need to find. You need to find a balance of having some fun, but also a balance of learning and how we can also combine it. Sports teach kids many things at a young age, and we also talk about what lessons he hopes kids take into the future, and also how we can teach those lessons. It can be difficult at times. We all know kids love to talk and love to move, but it's important that we do these things. We talk all about his business, Little Sports and Torts, that has grown so much over the past few years. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Today's guest is Jed Eichorn. He is a graduate from Central College in Iowa, where he earned a bachelor's degree in sports administration and child development. He was also a football athlete. Jed has spent most of his career in parks and recreation. He started his own privately owned recreation business called Sports and Torts, which concentrates on bringing sports to young children. He wrote a Sports and Torts book about basketball that was published in 2018 and is currently in the works of creating a soccer Sports and Torts book. Jed, I'm wondering if you'd like to add anything else or talk about what got you to where you are today.
Thank you for having me on today. I'm very excited for this opportunity to talk to you and talk a little bit about our new book that I just wrote. And yeah, for a long time, I've had a passion for being a positive role model for youth. Really specifically, I grew up in a single parent home, and big part of my driving force was just being that male role model and kind of living up to kind of the male role models that I looked up to as a kid. I've just always had that passion to give back and be able to do that for other kids, maybe in a similar situation as myself. And I just kind of fell in love with sports in general. And so yeah, that's kind of how I got here today, or started me off anyway.
On this podcast, I always start with the same three questions, which are related to soccer, the beautiful game, but what do all sports in general mean to you?
To me, sports, I guess, first of all, gives people an outlet to become lifelong, active people. And I think that's really important for people to learn to be active. And for Little Sports Torts in general, what we really strive for is giving kids that great first step, that first introduction to sports in a fun environment. And it's not always even about the sport. We use sports to really drive home being active for a lifetime and enjoying, just getting moving and things. And so I think sports, for the most part, what I really like about sports is that it gets people excited about doing something healthy for their bodies.
What are actions or things you do to keep sports beautiful?
So at our level, I really strive for making sports fun, and having my coaches and I just really engage with the kids. And so I think that's where we can be most impactful with getting kids excited about playing. Some of the things that we do in Little Sports Torts is we try to keep the imagination rolling for the kids. So, when we're teaching about soccer and even doing some of our warm-ups, our toe touches, we try to include hey, it looks like we're marching. Or if we're, working on our pullbacks, we kind of start with we say, roll your cookies, and it's just rolling the ball from your heel to your toe, just to kind of get those visuals in kids' minds to think about and keep it fun. The other thing that we strive to do is not have lines when we're playing when we're coaching in sports. So every kid has a ball at all times and is moving and is engaged and can feel part of the program so they don't get bored and things. Because I feel like that can be a problem sometimes with some practices in some sports where it's the kids are waiting around so long that they have nothing to do but get in trouble and goof off. And so I feel like in little sports torts and even in the programs for older kids that I run, I always I strive to always keep them engaged.
How do you encourage others to keep sports beautiful?
The best way that I think I encourage others to keep it beautiful is leading by example. I've got my kids are getting older. I mean, in the sense they're 9 and 7 right now, but it's not too old. But you kind of, as they get older, you see the parents sometimes, just disagreeing with umpires' calls or referees' calls, and it's it's hard to watch. A lot of times, just like we just want these kids to play and have fun and to learn. And the officials out there, I try to remind everybody when I do see some of those things happening, is like, hey, these guys they're doing the best that they can. They're not trying to favor one team over another. They're trying to call what they see. They're, and pretty much every official that I've ever seen in action, I mean, they're doing the best that they can, and they're trying to teach the kids as they go as well. Like I see a really, a ton of officials in all of these youth sports games that I've been watching, really trying to talk to the kids and trying to encourage them to, teach them on the field or on the court. And that's been a really neat thing to see. And so, I don't know, I think as far as the, encouraging, what I do to encourage, good, is to encourage good sportsmanship, I guess, all around. That's it's one of the things that not only do we try to teach to our athletes, but, teach to my parents. And as I'm coaching, I try to reinforce those things. And even just as a parent, I try to just lead by example for the most part and show what good sportsmanship should be. And
what are the best ways to teach young kids good sportsmanship?
So obviously leading by example, as a coach, as a parent, I think that's the best way. I do think it's important to kind of remind and reinforce those good sportsmanship throughout a practice or throughout a game, teaching kids that, the one thing that I guess I strive for in my book, I always have three, so the new book, Learn to Play Soccer, Trapper, has 3 goals for kids at the end. And one of the goals is to always be a winner. And winning doesn't mean that you're winning the game. You can be a winner. We always teach kids that they can be a winner no matter what the score is of the game, if they play with good sportsmanship, treating each other with kindness and respect and respecting the rules of the game, but always staying positive as well and not throwing a fit if you end up losing the game. And so we try to reinforce those through our books, through our practices, just reminding kids that winning is being a winner. You can be a winner if you're always doing your best and playing with good sportsmanship. You can walk away from every game a winner, even if you don't win the game.
Can you talk a little bit about what made you follow your path of education and sports rec?
Yeah, so I initially, as I said, growing up in a single parent family, I looked up to those male role models, so my male teachers and my male coaches. And when I went to college, my goal was I knew I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. So I studied in the teaching field or in the education field. But once I got into the classroom, I just didn't feel comfortable with the classroom setting. I knew I still wanted to work with kids in athletics. And so I had to find a different route. And I had volunteered for my local park and recreation back in Belle Plaine and really enjoyed kind of some of that work. And so I started looking into, the YMCA's Park and Rec's field and seeing how I could have a career in that area. So once I finished school, it took probably 5 years to break into the park and recreation field, because it is a competitive field. There's not very many jobs out there, and there's a ton of people looking for them. So once I did have that opportunity, I was a park and rec director for 8 years, and truly loved what I did. And, I just love being able to serve the community by providing positive programs for the kids, and doing good things. And so it's one of those things, I feel like it's important, and somebody told me this one time too, is to try to find something that you love to do, that you would do free the rest of your life, and try to find your career in that role. And that's what I had found in the park and recreation field. And so in 2012, I left the park and recreation field in Wisconsin. We moved back here to Cedar Rapids after having our first child. We wanted to be back closer to home, and I couldn't find a job back in the park and rec field. As I said, it's pretty tough to get a field to get into, and so there weren't very many openings. And so knowing that I love doing what I did as a park and recreation director, I decided I'd try to start my own park and recreation business. And I found a niche market in providing preschool programming to directly to daycares and childcare centers and preschools, offering the programs on site while the kids are at school, the parents are at work. The parents didn't have to take their kids and run them around at night, weekends. And so our goal has been always to, try to save family time, and, and provide something that, something where the families could still have dinner together at night for as long as they can, before they start running around to practices every night of the week. And so that's kind of, it's gone off really well. The business has grown quite a bit. I started with one daycare back in 2013. And from there we went to 2 to 4 within 6 months. And after close to a year, I had 10 daycares that I was working with. And now we're up over 40 daycares and preschools that we work with on a yearly basis. And so it's been fun being able to do something I love to do. And it's not like I go to work every day. It's just, I get to do something fun that's and I get paid for it. So it's pretty awesome.
I know you started out with high schoolers. How did you find this age level that you work with now?
Yeah. So as a coach, I coached high school football. And I did that for a few years, but in the park and recreation field, I worked with all ages. And then I had so much demand for preschool programming when I was a park and recreation director up in Sauk City, Prairie du Sac, Wisconsin. And so I started growing, kind of developing some of those preschool programs, and they were a big hit for families. And so when I moved here, just trying to find that niche market, I ran speed and quickness camps. So I was a track coach for the middle school at Regis and LaSalle when I first moved back. And so then I ran speed and quickness camps that summer. And I ran adult sand volleyball leagues for a Mexican restaurant that's had some extra sand volleyball courts that they weren't being used. And then as I looked into what other businesses were out there, I saw that there was dance programs going into preschools and music sessions going on in preschools. And so I was like, well, I wonder if they would be willing to do sports programming for preschoolers. And so that's kind of how I just randomly fell into that. And, I thought I'd have to, in the park and rec field, I thought I'd have to always work nights and weekends. But it's definitely something I didn't want to do. I was starting a young family, and I wanted to save my nights and weekends for my family time. And so once I found that market, just that daycares and preschools and parents, were really looking for that exposure to sports and being able to do it on site where they didn't have to run the kids around at night. It was a win-win for everybody. And the daycares really loved having some extracurriculars come in. Parents loved saving that time. And obviously for me as a young family as well, like I really enjoyed that I could do my work that I love to do during the daytime versus on nights and weekends.
Why do you think it's so important that we expose kids to sports at this age?
Yeah, I think the exposure to it, so what we really strive to do is when we teach these kids in a fun environment, we break it down so they can be successful from the very first class that they attend. We break the fundamentals down and do simple things that kids can do to become successful. And our motto is bringing kids out of their shells. And I've seen it over and over when we get these super shy kids or kids that aren't, they just don't feel, comfortable at first, like, doing some of these things and knowing how to do them. And they're just, it's shy, but they just don't have the confidence to do some of these things either initially. And when we can show them that they can do this, from the very first session that they join us, I think sports at this age, if you can make it where it's fun, but also successful, that they can be successful. And they're like, yeah, I can do this. And, I think that's the important thing. It really grows that confidence for kids. And, my favorite line is always, and I hear it so much, which is awesome, but the kids yell out, "I did it," and that just makes you feel so good because they feel good that they're like, "Hey, I did this and I didn't even know I could do it." And now they kicked a goal or they made a basket or whatever. So I really think growing that confidence is the kind of the most important thing for the reason why for kids being exposed at this level.
Now, where did the whole turtle idea come about?
That's a good question. It just literally, I don't know. It just came to me as far as as an idea for, I didn't know what my name would be necessarily when I first started. And so that's why I started with Eichorn Recreation, as my business name. And then, but I had this idea, again, I just think it's just a random idea for turtles with a sports ball shell. And then I presented it to this artist here in Cedar Rapids, and he was able to make, he kind of sketched out some ideas, and I just loved him. I'm like, this is fantastic. And, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do graphic, put it on a digital, copy at the time. And so it took me probably another, I think at least 4 years before I found somebody that could kind of turn my idea into these little sport torts as what they look like today. So, and Melissa McCullough, she was the graphic designer, the artist that, made these turtles come to life and just nailed my vision for what I wanted to see as a cute, tortoise that, would relate to preschoolers.
What has it been like to look back on your growth since you started out without really a name and now you have multiple daycares and multiple programs going on?
Yeah, it's just an amazing feeling. There was definitely times of doubt, when I first started, and but I always believed in myself that this would work. Ever since that first daycare, we started working with St. Matt's here in Cedar Rapids, and that's where we took our daughter to school, to daycare when we first moved here. And it's just an amazing feeling to see kind of your dream come to fruition. And we've grown so much. It's definitely a sustainable business that we have now, and it's we continue to strive for better, strive for more, in the sense that I want to continue to keep coaching at preschools and childcare centers, but I've also started a new like indoor play space, which right now is only during the daytime during the week. But even that, it started off small, and now it's like, I feel like we can, if I had my own place, this is something that the community would really enjoy taking their families to. Again, it just kind of promotes large motor skills, getting kids active and in the community, and giving families a place to go, especially in the bad weather days as winter is approaching. So I'd love to find my own place to do that, to run my own programs. We have the books that are coming out. So I really try to take my programs and put them into a book format so that families, as they're, either taking my programs or wanting to introduce kids to sports, that they have a fun way to do it. And we work on the fundamentals in these books, and we just do it exactly like we do during the program, and try to make it fun. So it's been just an amazing journey, and truly like humbled by all the support I've received over the years from all my participants and the daycares and preschools that we work with, and it's been a cool experience.
What sparked your idea for writing the book?
I think the Torts, like once I saw the little sports Torts like characters, I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are amazing. I'm like, I feel like they can like, each have their own story. And then as, just as with our programs, I really, I try to, stay in communication with the parents and kind of let them know like the things that we're working on so they can practice them at home. And then I was like, well, maybe if I can write a story about, initially it was about that sport tort going through a program and trying to teach the kids that way. And the way it's turned out, I kind of have each sport tort like teaching the program actually. So they're actually kind of the coach and the friend that's, hey, here's what we do and how we do it. And everything is how the book turned out. But the torts like truly like inspired that initial desire to like write a book and put it into a book format.
What has the support you've received about the book or on the book been like?
Yeah, from my families, they're excited about it. So I have two books. So I wrote a basketball book, Learn to Play Basketball book, a couple years ago. And when people do the basketball program, it's just, they've been really, they like being able to have that book at their fingertips so they can reinforce those skills at home. And so now with the soccer book coming out, a lot of those families, they're older now. So they're kind of, most of the families initially that had bought the basketball book, have kind of outgrown my, but people, the participants continued, to like, that are in basketball or even other sports continue to buy the basketball book. And so that's been really neat to see. And I think the soccer book is off to a great start. I'm doing a pre-order through Kickstarter right now. And in the Kickstarter campaign, we were at 44% funded. And so we're almost halfway to our goal of $3,000 for this book. And we will have the books ready before Christmas for anybody that does order one. So
yeah, I was just going to ask how people can support the upcoming book.
Yeah, if they would be willing to go to Kickstarter, I think even the more page visits that I receive to my page, the more that Kickstarter sees that as a popular project and will promote it more to their communities. So I would definitely love if people can go to the Kickstarter campaign and just check it out and see what some of our rewards are. We do have other rewards besides the pre-order for the book. We have some, if you're local, we have VIP passes to our Shell indoor play space, which includes your passes, some books, and a t-shirt. We also have like private parties that we're willing to do around the world. So anywhere in the world, someone could pay, they could have us come visit them and have a private party, either for a birthday party or just a community party with friends or whatever they want to do. So there's a lot of other great options for rewards as well. So please check out Little Sports Torts. Learn to Play Soccer is the name of our book on Kickstarter.
You mentioned that all kids grow out of your programs. Where do you hope they use their knowledge that you taught them?
So our focus age group is definitely that 3 to 5 is kind of the, what most of our programs focus on. We do have programs for kind of kids 2 to 7 years old. But our next step is, after kind of teaching them the fundamentals, getting them excited in preschool, we do our Little Sports Torts leagues where they have practice and games all in one day. And again, kind of driving home those fundamentals, but then also introducing the gameplay. And we do it in small groups. So that way kids can, again, stay active and engaged in the game instead of having, 6 kids out there at one time and one ball. We try to keep it 3-on-3 for the most part. So there's just more engagement and movement. And but our goal for when they're finished, with our programming is that, that we've set that foundation, that we've taught those proper fundamentals, that no matter, what the next coach, brings, my hope is that kids will continue those fundamental skills and, and continue, just have that foundation of love for the game and love for staying active. I'd say we just really want that love for the game and that lifelong activity.
You talked a little bit about modification of the game. Are there any other equipment modifications for this age?
Yeah, so we try to use, specifically for soccer, it's a size 1 ball for our preschool age. Once we move up kind of to that kindergarten, we start using, there's a size 2 ball that we try to just kind of, our philosophy and kind of what we market, I guess, to families is not only age appropriate instruction, but age appropriate equipment as well. So, for our soccer programs, the soccer field is really small for the preschool age. For our basketball program, we have a hoop that we bring in, and it ranges from 2.5 feet for the littlest of players, up to 7 feet for some of the for the bigger preschool age group kids that can have the strength to still use their fundamentals to get the ball up to the hoop and things. So I do believe, it's important for the age appropriate equipment as well. This is one area, I don't know if you mind me going on this tangent, but currently our kids are currently in a basketball program, and I really struggle with locations that have the ability to lower the hoops, and they don't. And then also organizations that use my daughter is using a women's size WNBA size ball. She's 9 years old, and I'm like, there's different size balls for a reason, and these girls, are just, they're losing all the form that they learned in my program, because they have to. They're not strong enough to get the ball up to the hoop, so they've got to use bad form or 2 hands to get it up there. And that's one thing I really would like to see happen. And I think maybe someday, if I can even get on some boards and try to help make those changes, maybe initially locally, but nationally, I think it's important to really use age appropriate equipment. And for all sports, there's modifications you can make in all sports to make it more successful, more, developmentally, so they can do the fundamentals still and have good success with proper fundamentals.
Are there any sports that you're wanting to work with, but you haven't yet?
Not really. Um, we kind of do. We do a little bit of all sports. So we have programs set up for not only soccer and basketball, but tennis, t-ball, football. We work on volleyball skills, hockey, lacrosse, volleyball, if I didn't say that. We do like a Ninja Warrior gymnastics, and even some golf stuff. So most sports we've been able to cover. I think, it would be neat if we could, do a little bit more rugby. There's a game, I think it's called cricket, that I'd really like to start introducing kids to someday. So those would be maybe the two sports that we don't offer yet, and I think we'd love to get into.
How many children total do you think your organization has helped?
Oh, wow. We average working with almost 2,000 kids a year now. Obviously starting off that first year, I think it was maybe close to 70, 80, something like that. So it's definitely grown, over the years, but I guess that I'd say probably close to 10,000, maybe, if that might be a little high. I don't know. That's I'd say between 5 and 10,000, somewhere around that, in that range.
So a lot of kids.
Yes, so far. We are in year number 8 of running, offering programs, and definitely many more over the years with all my other coaching. I've been a coach for over 25 years, so definitely met a lot of kids and a lot of families over the years.
Are there ever things that you look back on from your first few years and think, oh, why did I do that?
I guess I don't ever think that. However, we do have many, many modifications that we've made, like, to the programs, where we've, made it better, where it's just like, I didn't necessarily know, especially, as I was first developing these preschool programs and trying to make it age appropriate. I had my kids. They were obviously kind of in that range for, they're just growing out of my range that I work with. And they were my guinea pigs for a lot of the programs. So I would try to see what they could do at home and see what they could have success with, and if they had fun with it. And so there's definitely been a lot of development. I don't know if there's anything that I look back on and say, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that, or what was I thinking for doing that? But yeah, we've definitely learned a lot over the years and made our programs better.
I know we talked about all the kids a little bit ago, but can you talk about what we can do for any sport if a kid doesn't show interest in it?
Yeah, so I have a philosophy on that as well. And if a kid is not showing interest in a sport, my belief is that you just kind of let it go for a while. I have my children are prime examples for that. It's the tale of two sports minds. My daughter she's all in. Doesn't matter what sport it is. Like, she loves to play. She loves to learn, and she loves to, like, come home and continue working on it and just wanting to get better. My son, on the other hand, just really has no interest in sports at all. And it's people are like, does that break your heart? And I'm like, no, not really. Like, he loves playing. He loves imagination. He loves playing, like, army and Nerf guns and building things, and and that's just what he loves. So I think it's important for families to not push their kids into sports, or and, like, really, like, think too much about, oh, how can I get them interested in this, or I think if they're going to be interested in it, you can expose them to it and see how it goes. But, find what they truly love, what they're passionate about. And things change over the years, like he might not love sports right now. He might love it in the future. He might not. And I'm totally okay with that. And I think it's important for families and parents to know that, sports isn't everything. There's all sorts of great things that people can be passionate about and stay active with in doing so.
Are there ways that you work with parents to help them understand their role in supporting their child as an athlete?
That's an area that I do feel like I need to kind of be more vocal about, or kind of even just communicate with parents about. I don't do it as much as I would like to, but I do think it's been something that I've really thought about over the years, as far as trying to figure out how to appropriately, share those messages and be that support system that they would need, or maybe that they don't even know that they need, but could use.
You talked a lot about how you want to keep it fun. What are the best ways to keep things fun for kids?
So I tell my coaches, and I try to do this too, but be willing, to be silly, to make mistakes, and even to show the kids that you can't do everything, and it's okay to make mistakes. But I teach them to get down kind of on their level, so that they, can look you eye to eye, and that they can, see you as as an equal of sorts, or something that's not this intimidating figure that's over them. And so I think the more that you can relate to kids, be willing to be vulnerable, and, just the rest of it, just kind of, will come along to make it fun.
I had read that you offered opportunities to juniors and seniors to coach. What made you think of offering this?
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of potential in young juniors and seniors, and I think it's important if they want to be able to work with kids. I think we provide a really good opportunity for them to kind of see a well-organized program, and something that they can take throughout. I know when I was in high school, I mentioned, I volunteered with the local park and recreation department, and that was a huge kind of experience for me to say, hey, you know what, I really like doing this. Maybe this is how I work with kids in athletics when I, finished college. And so it was kind of just a nice thing. And so I guess that's why I thought about it, probably just to again give back and be similar to kind of my upbringing and my opportunity that I had.
Have you seen any interest from high schoolers?
Occasionally, but not very often, though. And part of that is that I don't know if I'm advertising the right spots and things like that either. I need to probably find a different way to reach out to high schoolers. And I don't offer a lot of paid positions, so it's more of a volunteer for high schoolers. So I think that's probably, one of the issues too, as far as the and just schedules, because I have most of my programming is almost all during the daytime when the kids are at school, when high schoolers are at school. So I don't think it's necessarily lent itself to be as accommodating as I'd like.
How do you hope to impact high schoolers in making their career choice?
I would like to just give them a great experience with working with kids. And, if they can, see that, hey, this guy is making a career out of coaching kids, and if that's something that they would love to do, all the better. I also, hope that when high schoolers see me working with kids, that they also see like the joy and the like in just the fact that they can be like a role model for kids and someone to look up to, and I think is a great thing to give back to them.
I have one final question, which I ask each guest. What do you hope people remember about your impact to sports and the world?
I guess I hope that people see the love and the passion that I have for being this positive role model for youth. And, I hope that the kids that I coach, I hope that they see that, that they can grow up and be anything that they want to be. And it doesn't matter where you started from. It matters like that you work hard to get where you want to go, and and believe that you can do anything. And it's not where you start, it's where you finish is one of the things that I always tell people. Growing up in a low income single parent family, it wasn't always the easiest of times, and I feel like I learned a lot from that, and it gave me a lot of respect for what other people did. But people always believed in me that I could be anything, and so I really think that I guess that's the impact I think I'd like for the world to remember, is like, this doesn't matter where you start, it's where you finish.
Currently, I'm working with my local Parks and Rec. This is a job I never thought I would enjoy this much. I have such an amazing time working with the kids, and it really prepares me for my future. I want to be a special ed teacher, so I'm going to experience things like I experience at Parks and Rec. I'm going to experience some moody kids and some talkative kids, and it's all about learning how to deal with them. And I've definitely learned a lot throughout my time at Parks and Rec. If I wasn't so busy, I would love to volunteer with Little Sports and Torts. Unfortunately, it's not really able to fit into my schedule right now, but it is an amazing opportunity. I love how Jed is trying to reach back out to the community and grow future coaches and future leaders. He's done so much to grow his business over the past few years, and I'm excited for the new book coming out, the Soccer Little Sports and Torts book. I hope you go and support it the best you can. And I also hope you enjoyed the episode. And until next time, remember to keep the game beautiful.